Ever feel like your brain is a browser with like a million tabs open? Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into shiny object syndrome. It's that pull we all feel towards new ideas, new trends, every new opportunity.
That's right.
We've got a stack of insightful sources here. We've got a guide to staying focused, tips for entrepreneurs, even some advice from a productivity coach.
Mm.
We'll uncover what causes this syndrome, why it's a problem, and most importantly, how to conquer it.
And it's a real problem, especially if you have that entrepreneurial bug.
Yeah. One surprising fact, we found even perfectionism can make this worse.
Definitely. It's not just about chasing the latest gadget or business idea. It's about understanding the psychology behind it.
Okay, before we get into the why, paint a picture for our listeners. What does shiny object syndrome actually look like in action?
Think about it this way. Abandoned projects, online courses you signed up for and never started, a million domain names for businesses you're going to start someday. Any of this sound familiar?
Oh, yeah.
It's that classic pattern of starting things with huge enthusiasm, but then quickly losing steam when something newer and shinier comes along.
It's like that feeling of walking into a bookstore and wanting to buy every book, but you know you'll never actually read them all.
Exactly. And that's where the trouble starts. Constantly switching gears, starting new projects without finishing the old ones, really damages your self-esteem. You're basically training yourself to be a starter, not a finisher.
So it's not just about a cluttered to-do list. It's about the impact on our confidence and ability to follow through.
Precisely. And this lack of follow-through, it can snowball into bigger problems. Missed deadlines, unfulfilled potential, and ultimately not reaching your goals. It creates a cycle. Starting, getting distracted, starting something else, and never really accomplishing anything.
Okay, so we've established that this is a real problem. But why are we so susceptible to these shiny distractions?
Well, it's not just a lack of willpower. There's actually some fascinating psychology at play. Our brains, they're hardwired to crave novelty. Every time we encounter something new, we get a little hit of dopamine, that feel-good hormone.
So it's like our brain is rewarding us for getting distracted.
In a way, yes. And this is only amplified by today's hyper-connected world. Social media, it's just a constant stream of shiny objects, new products, trends, success stories. It makes us feel like we're missing out if we're not constantly in the loop. That's where FOMO, the fear of missing out, comes in.
And that FOMO just drives us to jump on every new trend, even if it's not really a good fit for us.
Right. Then there's impulsivity. It's the tendency to act without thinking. We see something shiny, we get excited, and we just dive in head first. We don't really evaluate if it's right for us.
We don't stop and ask ourselves, is this important? Does this align with my goals?
Exactly. And here's where it gets interesting. Even perfectionism, something we usually think of as positive, can make shiny object syndrome worse.
That's surprising. How does wanting things to be perfect lead to more distractions?
Well, think about it. When you have impossibly high standards, it's easy to get discouraged when things get tough or don't meet your expectations. So instead of pushing through those challenges and refining your skills, you just abandon the project and jump to something new, something where you can start fresh.
So we're avoiding the hard work of mastering something, all because we're afraid of not being perfect right away.
That's it. It's like we'd rather chase the illusion of effortless success than face the reality of setbacks and imperfections that are part of any real, meaningful journey.
So we've got novelty-seeking, FOMO, impulsivity, and even perfectionism, all contributing to shiny object syndrome. Now that we understand the psychology a bit better, let's get to some strategies for actually overcoming this, because I think we've all felt this to some degree, right?
Absolutely. We're going to give you some real practical tools to break free from this cycle and help you focus on what matters.
That sounds great. You mentioned slowing down earlier, and that really stuck with me. It's like we're bombarded with information and opportunities constantly, and it's hard to resist just reacting immediately.
That's such a critical first step. Imagine you're at an all-you-can-eat buffet. You don't pile your plate with everything at once, do you?
Oh, no.
You take your time, you sample different dishes, and you choose what you really enjoy.
I love that analogy. So we need to be more selective about what we choose to consume.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we actually slow down in a world that feels like it's moving so fast?
One really powerful technique is to implement a 24-hour rule. For any new project, any new commitment, when something shiny catches your eye, don't jump in right away.
Yeah.
Give yourself at least 24 hours. Consider it, do a little research, and really think about whether it aligns with your goals.
That's a good idea. Creating a buffer zone between that initial impulse and actually making a decision.
Exactly. And during that 24 hours, you can ask yourself some questions. Is this really important? Does this fit into my long-term vision? Or am I just caught up in the hype?
It's about making conscious choices instead of just reacting to whatever comes our way.
Precisely. And it's amazing how much clarity you can get by simply taking a step back and giving yourself that space.
You know, this reminds me of mindfulness. It's a hot topic these days.
Yeah.
How does that play into overcoming shiny object syndrome?
Well, mindfulness is all about being present, being aware of your thoughts and feelings in the moment. When you're mindful, you're more likely to notice when you're getting pulled in by a shiny object. And then you can choose to redirect your attention.
Like an internal alarm system that goes off when you're about to get sidetracked.
Exactly. It's about cultivating self-awareness to recognize those patterns.
Hmm.
Now, slowing down and practicing mindfulness, they're important first steps, but they're even more effective when you combine them with a really clear understanding of your priorities.
So it's not just about resisting distractions, it's about knowing where we want to go.
Absolutely. You need to define your destination before you can even think about the journey. What are your goals? What matters most to you? Once you have that clarity, you can start filtering out all that noise and focus your energy on what will really move you forward.
It's like having a compass that helps you navigate through the wilderness of all those shiny objects.
Exactly. And when those distractions do pop up, you can ask yourself, does this align with my priorities? Does it get me closer to my goals? Or is it just a detour? Because every shiny object has a cost. It's not just about the time and money. It's about the energy, the focus.
Like we only have so much bandwidth, and every time we chase a shiny object, we're taking energy away from the things that really matter.
You got it. And that's why learning to say no is so important.
I imagine that could be really hard, especially when you feel like you might be missing out on a good opportunity.
It is. But it's a muscle, and it gets stronger with practice. One technique I recommend is to create a default no policy. So instead of assuming you'll say yes to every request, you start by assuming you'll say no unless there's a really good reason to say yes.
So it's about being more picky about where we invest our time and energy.
Exactly. And remember, when you say no to one thing, you're freeing yourself up to say yes to something else, something even more important.
This has been really helpful. We've explored the psychology behind shiny object syndrome, the importance of slowing down, defining our priorities, and learning to say no. But we've only just scratched the surface. We'll be back in the next part to talk about even more practical strategies for staying focused and reaching your goals.
I'm looking forward to sharing more insights to help you break free from this cycle and harness your full potential.